Welcome, everybody. My name is Claudia Vanessa Garcia, and I'm the Assistant Director of Inclusion and Engagement at Northeast Ohio Medical School. In this video, I will share information about implicit bias, what it is, how it can manifest in medical school admissions, and some strategies you can use to reduce during the application review process. But before we begin, I want to highlight the importance of representation in the medical professions. According to a report from the AAMC, in 2021, 64% of active physicians in the US identified as white, 20.6% as Asian, 6.9% as Hispanic, and 5.7% as Black or African American. In terms of gender, 37.1% identified as women. So why do these numbers matter? Representation in medicine is crucial for several reasons. First, diverse medical teams are better equipped to understand and address the unique health needs of different populations, leading to improved patient outcomes and satisfaction. Additionally, healthcare providers from marginalized backgrounds bring valuable cultural knowledge and experiences that enhance the overall cultural competency of medical teams, improving communication and trust with patients from similar backgrounds. Furthermore, people from underrepresented backgrounds are more likely to seek care when they see health professionals who share their backgrounds and experiences. At a larger scale, a diverse medical workforce can advocate for and contribute to the development of health policies that can positively affect the health outcomes of underserved populations. Now, let's move on into defining explicit and implicit bias. Explicit bias is a positive or negative mental attitude towards a person, thing, group, that a person is aware and is under conscious control. Meanwhile, implicit bias refers to positive or negative attitudes or stereotypes outside of our awareness and affecting our understanding, interactions, and decisions. It is important to recognize that we all harbor both positive and negative unconscious associations about other people based on characteristics such as age, race, social class, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, weight, and appearance. This is a natural part of being human. We should not feel guilty about harvesting these associations, but we do and we must acknowledge that they do influence our decisions, feelings, and attitudes, which can result in involuntary discriminatory practices that might benefit some individuals and disadvantage others. In addition, our implicit biases might not align with our declared ways of being. This can lead to discrepancies between our intentions and our actions. By becoming aware of our biases, we can take steps to mitigate their impact. Next, let's explore how we learn about these biases and how these biases are created through explaining Harrow's cycle of socialization. So in the beginning of the cycle, it's birth. When a baby is born, they have no consciousness, they have no power to make any choices of their own. However, they enter this world where there are traditions, values, habits, stereotypes, and prejudice already in place. The first socialization occurs at a personal level, where parents, relatives, and teachers informed us about their values and norms. These early influences shape our expectations, behaviors, and the rules we follow. Next, we experience institutional and cultural socialization. At this stage, institutions such as churches, schools, and the legal system, and cultural elements such as community practices, song, language, media, and other patterns further socialize us. These elements are everywhere and strengthen our notion of societal norms, especially those related to our social identities and the roles we play in our society based on those identities. The norms and societal roles are then enforced through behaviors such as stigmatization, rewards, punishment from our peers and our community members. The result of all of the socialization process can include ignorance of groups that don't align with our identities, feelings of guilt, and anger, especially when people are not treated according to the givens of their group. It can also lead to internalized patterns of power, dehumanization, and the creation of implicit biases. Finally, we face two choices. We can either do nothing, maintain the status quo, or as they say, go along to get along, or we can raise consciousness, question those norms, educate ourselves and others, interrupt the cycle, and create change. Understanding Harrow's cycle of socialization helps us recognize the deep rooted nature of biases and the importance of actively working to change them. So, how can our biases influence us during the admission application review? Let's consider the following example. Gio is a college student who began his academic journey at Valley Community College. After completing his initial coursework, Gio transferred to State University to pursue his bachelor's degree. Gio's GPA meets the minimum requirements for admissions into medical school. He has strong grades in biology and chemistry. However, his school is not as highly ranked as other applicants who are coming from R1s or Ivy League schools. When reviewing his resume, you notice Gio has one shadowing experience and has also been volunteering at a nonprofit health organization for over 6 months. Unfortunately, as you review Gio's resume, you notice some grammatical errors, and often he switches between past and present tense in his work experience description. So think, how might implicit bias affect the evaluation of Gio's academic background, especially when you consider his transition from a community college to a university? Are you unconsciously valuing more the applications of students from highly ranked institutions? Will his volunteer hours be undervalued compared to applicants with more shadowing experiences? Are you focusing more on the grammatical errors rather than the content of the resume? Lewis and Paulson mentioned many admission committee members would want to give somebody a negative evaluation if they haven't been shadowing or hadn't done enough shadowing. However, this emphasis may particularly disadvantage underrepresented minorities and low income students who may not have access to or a network of medical professions who they can shadow, or the discretionary time to pursue those experiences. Consider this. Perhaps Gio is a rural student who might not have access to a network of hospitals nearby, or he's a student from a working class family who decided to attend community college to save money for medical school, and perhaps he had to work during his undergraduate degree. It might be that he's a first generation college student and he and his family were not aware of the career resources available on campus to help him improve his resume. It is also important to consider if we are unconsciously giving preferences to some applicants. Often I hear reviewers share how they have a gut feeling about an applicant. But what does this mean? Gut instinct or intuition isn't random. It's a behavior constructed over time and it's influenced by personal and societal stereotypes on how people belong or fit at our institutions. Employing gut instinct is an example of implicit bias, which can in turn negatively impact members from underrepresented groups. Now, let's discuss strategies to address implicit bias. The first strategy is to identify our biases. One effective way to do this is by taking the Implicit Association Test, or IAT, developed by researchers at Harvard University. The IAT is a series of tests designated to reveal hidden biases by measuring the relative strength of associations between pairs of words and images. The IAT has been rigorously tested for reliability, validity, and predictive validity. There are many different types of IAT tests based on identity groups such as gender, different races, sexuality, age, and disability. By understanding that we have these unconscious biases, we can start to think about ways to mitigate their potential impact. The second strategy is to reflect. Understanding when we are more susceptible to committing implicit biases is crucial. This might be when we have incomplete information about students, when we're under stress, or when we are making quick decisions because we might have not have enough time, or we feel that we have very short time to review applications. Reflecting on these situations can help us recognize patterns and take steps to mitigate bias. For example, we can make a conscious effort to gather complete information about a student or an applicant before making judgments, or taking a moment to pause and consider our decisions more carefully when we are under stress. Another strategy is to build new associations of social groups. This involves learning about different groups, their struggles, and their cultures. Engaging with people from diverse backgrounds can break down preconceived ideas and stereotypes, fostering more inclusive attitudes and behaviors. This can mean participating in cultural events, reading literature from diverse backgrounds, and having open conversations with people from different backgrounds can all contribute to building these new associations. Finally, we need to practice mindfulness and intellectual humility. Assessing our gut feelings or reactions are potential indicators of implicit bias. Let's be mindful of confirmation bias as well, which is this tendency to seek information confirming our pre-existing beliefs. Begin to question the givens, all of society's assumptions, rules, and why we do the things we do, the way we do it. This practice can help us become more open-minded. It can help us be aware of the biases that are influencing our decisions. Regularly reflecting on our thought process and being open to feedback can help us maintain this mindful approach. Increasing representation in medical professions is not just about numbers. It is about improving the quality of healthcare for everybody. As you continue your service as a reviewer, in addition to the strategies I provided, I encourage you to practice intellectual humility. Embrace curiosity about others and yourself. Be open-minded to learn new ways of reviewing applications. Practice self-reflection and self-critique. Think, why am I thinking? Why am I making these decisions? Why do I have these thoughts? You can also actively listen to feedback that others provide you and ask questions about social groups, about some of your biases, and also, again, questioning those givens that we give in society. Be open to feedback and practice empathy to others and towards yourself. We are all learning about how to minimize our implicit bias. Remember that implementing these strategies is just one of the first steps we need to take to create a more equitable and inclusive society. Finally, I would like to share this additional resource from the AAMC. It talks about implicit bias in virtual interviews, search and recruitment process, and it links to additional reports regarding unconscious bias. I want to thank you for the time you've taken to review this video, and I hope this training has been valuable as you participate in the review process. Feel free to reach out, and if you have any other questions, here's a way that you can contact me. Thank you again.